You are on assignment.
Now, a behind-the-scenes look.
Hello and welcome to a special holiday edition of On Assignment. I'm Philip Alexia for Imran Siddiqui.
And I'm Maru Pandey in for Alex Villarreal. Coming up, Christmas on the high seas. We'll take you to Texas and Maryland to explain.
Santa Paws is coming to town. It's our story about all the things people buy for their pets.
And we'll hear about the history behind major religious observances.
This and more all coming your way in our holiday edition of On Assignment.
People celebrate Christmas the world over, but it can be a difficult time for those who find themselves far from their families as the year draws to an end.
Well, Houston, Texas is a port city on the Gulf of Mexico, and some Texas Christians are bringing the Christmas spirit to seafarers of all faiths. Let's go on board with VOA's Greg Flakus.
Dozens of people from Houston area churches cruise up and down the ship channel singing Christmas carols to workers aboard ships. Every now and then they get an answering salute. Very few crew members are outside at night, but they can often hear the singing even while working inside. The chief organizer of this ecumenical program was Presbyterian pastor Ben Stewart.
We offer ourselves and our words as a gift of peace to the world, and a gift of love, and a gift of acceptance.
Some of the seamen who had shore passes came later to the Houston International Seafarers Center for a party. Most of the mariners at this party were from the Philippines, Russia, and Ukraine. Vladimir, a Ukrainian, enjoyed sampling the food.
С Рождеством, Merry Christmas.
Religious services in the chapel sometimes draw non-Christians as well. Presbyterian pastor David Wells recalls the visit of some Buddhists from Thailand.
They came into the worship and they partook in communion, and they were Buddhist. But they did that because they felt connected with the people that were here. And that's what they want. They want to feel a connection with other people.
But many mariners on short visits cannot go to the Seafarers Center, so David Wells and other pastors bring donated gifts to the ships. These Filipino sailors on the Singapore-registered Pelicana put the gifts aside for an on-board party on Christmas Eve, when Chief Officer Martin Gascon says they will be in the middle of the ocean.
So we are praying that maybe we will get, the good Lord will give us a good weather in the Atlantic.
Gascon says he and other crew members miss their families at this holiday time, but they do this work to support their families. Wells also brings gifts to non-Christian sailors like the Muslim crew of this Turkish ship. These crew members did not have visas that would allow them to get off the ship, and Second Officer Hassan was grateful for the gifts.
Maybe I will bring from Istanbul to give to you.
Next time we want you to have a visa so you can get off.
Okay, thank you.
And have some freedom.
Wells and other pastors from American port cities are urging the U.S. Congress to pass a law making it easier for international mariners to come ashore for brief periods of time to get a break from life on board and a chance to enjoy the hospitality offered to them at places like Houston's International Seafarers Center. Greg Flakus, VOA News, Houston.
Visits with Santa Claus, also known as Grandfather Frost or Father Christmas, is a holiday tradition this time of year.
Of course, it usually involves children on Santa's lap, but not everyone who sits with Santa is a child or even a human. Our own Rebecca Ward went out for a look at what is becoming another holiday tradition.
These are like my little babies.
He's on our holiday card.
Are you ready to see Santa? I know you are. Dogs and cats too, but mostly dogs, are getting their picture taken with Santa Claus, spelled C-L-A-W-S, at a local pet store in the Washington area. PetSmart has offered the service for the past 25 years, now at more than 1,200 of their stores across the United States. A portion of the proceeds for the pictures framed go to animal charities, like Last Chance Animal Rescue.
PetSmart Charities and PetSmart make it possible for nonprofit animal rescue groups to showcase their pets, to raise money, to raise funds. Like these Santa photos, part of the proceeds go to the animal group that's designated. Like today, it'll be Last Chance Animal Rescue.
Cindy Sharpley says they're able to adopt about 8,000 to 10,000 pets a year, thanks in part to PetSmart. That much may be lost on these pampered pooches and kitties, some of which came to have their picture taken in their Sunday best, matching sweaters, special outfits, bows, and hats.
See, I have a pretty Christmas dress, but I outgrew it this year.
But this is not the only store, nor the only venue for pet photos with Santa. Less than 2 miles away in Alexandria, Virginia's Old Town, the Kimpton's Hotel Monaco is hosting a Santa Paws event.
Kimpton's a very pet-friendly company in general. You know, we don't discriminate between any pets at all. You can bring your parakeet, you can bring your dog. So we just thought it was something great to do around the holidays and get, you know, pets are kind of an extension of everyone's family. So it was nice to be able to bring in pets and their families and be able to take pictures with Santa. It's just a great holiday event.
This is Bella.
What do you think she'll ask Santa for?
A lot of tissue paper, plastic bags, anything that she's not supposed to have.
Jacqueline Randolph says Kimpton also uses the opportunity to raise money for charity, in this case, Veterans Moving Forward, which provides veterans who suffer physical or mental challenges with service dogs.
We always use very local charities. Like in Washington, D.C., we partner with the Washington Humane Society, and here it's Veterans Moving Forwards, and every one of our locations have a different charity they work with.
In the United States, about 39% of households include a dog. According to the Humane Society, cat ownership is a little less at 33%. So catering to animals and their owners is a smart business model.
Boots and Kelly are here to visit Santa, and they've made long lists of what they would like. 99 out of 100 items include food.
He likes antlers. That's his favorite chew toy.
Oh, okay, the real thing.
The real thing, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Santa may not like
he might get a little upset.
I think Munchie would like some bully sticks and probably more clothes.
These pet owners may seem a bit indulgent, but other dogs and cats are not so lucky. There are literally millions of homeless or abused animals in the United States. Last Chance Rescue brought Shelley to the most recent Santa Claus event.
She was a stray in Prince George's County. She'd been hit by a car. She's been shot. She's been, oh my goodness, she'd been bred several times. She's paralyzed. She's in a wheelchair. She's been checked out by the vets, and she's probably not going to walk again.
But Santa has been good to Shelley, and the nonprofit rescue group is hopeful she'll find a permanent home for the new year through their adoption program. Rebecca Ward, VOA News. Happy holidays.
Philip, did you ever have a dog or a cat or a fish?
Yes, I had a dog. I would dress the dog up during Christmas, like everybody else seems to do. But you
never took him to see Santa, though?
No, I'm not. I wasn't way out there like that. But what do you do if you have a snake? Would you take the snake to go see Santa?
Well, I wouldn't want to be Santa. I mean, unless Santa likes snakes.
Well, yeah, or mice.
That's true.
But dogs and cats, I guess, are okay.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, well, we're taking a break now. When we come back, our religion reporter will join us for some historical perspective on the holidays. You're watching On Assignment.
The end-of-year holidays are rich in tradition, but they are, of course, very significant religious celebrations. Celebrations whose origins go back thousands of years.
That's right. For more perspective on that history, we're joined now by VOA religion reporter Jerome Sokolowski. Jerome, talk more about Hanukkah. It's known as the Festival of Lights. What does it mean? How did it start?
That's correct. The word Hanukkah actually means dedication, and it recalls a military victory that the Jews had thousands of years ago when their holy temple in Jerusalem was occupied and desecrated by the Hellenic Empire. When they recovered the temple, they found that the eternal flame that's supposed to be lit all the time was still lit, but they had a miracle in which the oil lasted longer. It lasted for 8 days when there was only enough oil to last one day. Hence, the holiday is 8 days long. Nowadays, it's celebrated by Jewish families with what's called a Hanukkah, a candelabra with 8 branches and a single branch with a candle in which they light all the candles. Hanukkah has actually taken on some of the trappings of Christmas, in which, like in Christmas, presents are exchanged, and it's also been commercialized.
Now, Jerome, obviously Christmas is celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ, and for the most part it's celebrated on December 25th, but it's also sort of that date varies around the world, right?
That date does vary because the different Christian rites, the Eastern and Western rites, celebrate it according to different calendars. Protestants and Catholics celebrate it according to the Gregorian, the civil calendar that's in use in most places. Nowadays, Eastern Orthodox and others in the Eastern Rite celebrate it in early January, around January 7th, according to the Julian calendar, which was named after Julius Caesar and used back then.
And in some places, it's becoming part of the culture, in places that you would least expect it to be, Christmas.
That's correct. In places like Japan, even Indonesia, India, for different reasons. Sometimes it's the commercialization, U.S. Consumerism that's been imported, and the tradition of gift giving, of Christmas trees, of decorating with lights. In other places, it's a legacy, like in India, it was a legacy of the British colonial rule.
Now, what about the holiday in Islam during which, of course, gifts are exchanged?
It's actually after when Ramadan ends,
Ramadan,
a few weeks
right.
after Ramadan ends, Muslims celebrate the Eid, or Eid al-Adha, which commemorates the God's order to Abraham to sacrifice his son, which he ended up not doing, but it's a very important holiday. And the exchange of gifts is really a gift giving to the poor. Charity and wealthy Muslims are supposed to give food and gifts to the poor during that holiday. It's a very social holiday in which Muslims, after prayers, are really supposed to, the Prophet Muhammad said, you're supposed to take a different route back from prayer, from the mosque on that day, so you meet people. So it's not so much like Christmas or Diwali, which the Indian kind of festival of lights, which happen around the end of the year, because Muslims follow a different calendar, which is the lunar year. Every year it's a few weeks earlier, so it's not. Sometimes it's around the same time as Christmas, Hanukkah. Other times it's not.
All right. Thanks so much, Jerome, and happy holidays to you. It's our VOA correspondent, a religion reporter, Jerome Sokolowski. Well, we're going to take a break now, but when we come back, a most unusual candy store. You're watching On Assignment.
The holidays are filled with food, and some of it is probably no good for us, but we do love it anyway. The cookies, the cakes, and certainly lots of candy.
Lots of candy. And in that spirit, we take you to one of the most unusual candy stores in America, where they don't just sell candy, they tell its history.
And the history of candy can mirror human history, as Jeff Swikard found out when he took on this tough assignment, wax lips and all.
It was created, or a version thereof, in the 9th century, more or less.
Susan Benjamin owns Cool Confections, a candy shop that specializes in historical candy.
I might add delicious, right?
19th century horehound candy, made from a plant in the mint family. Hardtack, eaten by American Civil War soldiers. And wax-flavored lips, an early 20th century treat, are all part of her inventory.
They start here with the first in history.
Benjamin offers her unique take on history as visitors browse through several centuries of confections.
Which are actually, candy is not about sugar. It is not a simple subject. It is about slavery. It's about the Industrial Revolution. It's about commerce. It's about marketing. It's about who we are.
Cool Confections is in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, a small town on the banks of the Potomac and Shenandoah rivers. Abolitionist John Brown led a famous slave rebellion here in 1859, and the town was also the site of a major U.S. Civil War battle in 1862.
This is spruce resin gum, which was eaten by the Native Americans of the Northeast.
Early candies often had other purposes than satisfying a sweet tooth.
Because it was hard and not tacky, they would chew it, and it would scrape the plaque from their teeth, exercise their jaw, and some thought also helped them purify their blood.
The development of sugarcane as a sweetener spread from Southeast Asia in the 16th century. Candy and things made from sugar were primarily treats for Europe's wealthy class. Pan candies were popular.
What they would do would take a teeny little seed or take an almond, a seed or a nut, and they would add layers and layers of sugar to them.
Before the American Civil War, which ended slavery, sugar production was controversial. Popular rock candies of the time, like these, were made from cane sugar processed by African American slaves.
Sugar was a big part of the economy of slavery, so it was highly volatile. The abolitionists boycotted sugar, and they would have beet sugar, or they would have maple sugar, or nothing instead.
After the war, when sugar was readily available, penny candies for the masses were popular, like Tootsie Rolls.
Now all of a sudden, you see these working class kids who are able to go into stores and take out a few cents and buy candy. They were, in a sense, entering the middle class.
Benjamin sells a lot of her candies to museums and online. Many were out of production, so she spent years researching recipes and hiring manufacturers to make them again. Jeff Swycord, VOA News, Harpers Ferry, West Virginia.
Oh, good. And you read
One quick second.
There are a lot of big holiday meals being consumed this month, but you may be shocked to learn that roughly 40% of the food produced in the United States every year is actually thrown away.
Well, but one group here in Washington is working to reclaim some of that discarded food and get it to those who don't have enough to eat. VOA's Roseanne Skirble has that story.
Gregory Jones makes 5,000 meals a day at DC Central Kitchen, a nonprofit group in the nation's capital city that helps feed people in need.
Getting the job done.
Jones is assembling turkey casserole with a production line of volunteers. Jones loves the job and says it saved his life. The former drug addict trained in the kitchen's culinary arts program and has stayed clean ever since.
The wonderful thing about this is that I'm able to give back what the good Lord allowed me to have.
Well, we're very grateful for your help. Thank you so much for coming.
CEO Mike Curtin says Jones' story is central to the premise under which the kitchen operates, that waste is wrong.
That waste can be food, it can be productive minds, it could be kitchens that aren't being used effectively or efficiently.
The scale of waste is staggering. A recent report by the Natural Resources Defense Council estimates that each year, $165 billion worth of perfectly edible food is routinely thrown away at home, in restaurants, and on farms. Yet study author Dana Gunders points out that 1 in 6 Americans is chronically short of food or the funds to buy it.
We estimate that if we were to reduce food waste by 15%, that would be equivalent to the amount of food needed to feed 25 million Americans.
One more.
For more than 20 years, DC Central Kitchen has worked to change that. Its drivers make daily pickups of donated surplus from grocery stores, food wholesalers, restaurants, and farms.
Take the one bin and divide it, put big ones in here and little ones in there.
At this late date in the season, farmer Carl Brady has 2 tons of squash he can't sell.
And I put 6 bins squash.
I hate waste, and for a little bit more effort, I can do some good. By gathering it up, it costs me more to give it away, but you know, it's part of the process. I need to get it off the fields. It needs to go somewhere useful.
One farmer's excess becomes tomorrow's meals when it's delivered at no cost to people in need.
How many kids want milk?
Like the children at the after-school learning center Denise Lacey runs in a low-income Washington neighborhood. Lacey says these kids often don't know where their next meal is coming from.
I opted for the supper because a lot of kids in this area may not get supper when they get home.
To make things better?
Back at DC Central Kitchen, CEO Mike Curtin sums up the workday. He says that by reclaiming food, the kitchen is also reclaiming lives, not only for the people they serve, but also for his staff, some of whom were themselves once down on their luck. Roseanne Skirbel, VOA News, Washington.
You're watching our special holiday edition of On Assignment. Recently in Annapolis, Maryland, people came out for what has become a holiday tradition in this historic city on the Chesapeake Bay, the annual Boat Parade of Lights.
Well, dozens of boat owners showed off their holiday illuminations to the crowds. VOA's Deborah Block took her camera there and also got an earful of Frank Sinatra in the process.
On this chilly December evening, the crowd got a good look at the boats from the city dock and from a bridge. Some people even watched the parade from inside their own boats. As the event got underway, Cheryl Adams from the neighboring state of Delaware stood outside a restaurant.
What makes it so great is just people have gone to the extent of decorating their boat. It's impressive.
The boat shimmered with creative holiday and nautical themes, from a child's toy to a mermaid. Rick Miller from Annapolis was awestruck by this lighthouse.
The people to get the lights on the boats, they take so much time. It's amazing.
This is the parade's 30th year. It actually started with one man who decorated his boat and then sailed it around the harbor. Boating is a way of life in Annapolis, which began as a bustling seaport in the 1700s on the shores of the Chesapeake Bay, the country's largest estuary. Peter Holden, a longtime resident, decorated his sailboat with a New Year's theme. It included dancing and an 8-meter-high display of champagne glasses.
We took some chicken wire and we wired individually about 10,000 lights to form the illusion of 2 champagne glasses, and then another 5,000 lights inside the glasses to give the illusion of champagne toasting and spilling down the mast.
Holden's boat is named My Way, the title of a popular American tune from the late 1960s, originally sung by the great singer Frank Sinatra. Throughout the parade, Dale Korn, a singer from nearby Baltimore, entertained the crowd with Sinatra songs.
I've got you deep in the heart of me.
Mary Evans danced to the music. Earlier, she said she's been in the boat parade for 6 years.
It's just such a great time. It's fun to interact with everybody on the shore. Happy New Year!
On land, Carl Bauer said the twinkling boats bring out the Christmas spirit.
It's a very festive time. Everybody's out here having a good time.
Holden says the parade brings people together to celebrate the holidays. Deborah Block, VOA News, Annapolis, Maryland.
And with that, we've come to the end of our holiday show. I'm Maru Pandey in for Alex Villarreal.
We want to send our best to everyone as we close out 2012 and look ahead to next year. I'm Philip Alexio.
Happy holidays from all of us at On Assignment. See you next time.